In this video, we will be creating this landing page from scratch where users can sort movies by category and search for movies. We'll start out by getting an API key from the movie database, which is free. And then we will learn how to keep our API key secure and yet easily available throughout our project. We'll see how to write a view that will be responsible for fetching movies from the movie database according to the user's specified criteria, whether it's a category or a search term. We'll also get hands-on experience with Django's templating language and see how fun it makes creating a page that looks like this with the help of Bootstrap. This video was designed to function as a standalone video. However, it is part 2 of a Django and HTMX learning series. If you want to follow along this video and you haven't watched the first video, you'll find a link in the description to the GitHub repo with the code for where we left off. You can clone it and follow along. All right, now let's code. So we'll be continuing where we left off in the previous video. We've already created our Django project. We've called it Movie Spot. And inside it, we have created a movies app where we have defined a landing page. And we've also created a users app with custom user. We've also created a base.html template that includes a simple navbar. It looks like that right now. The navbar was styled with Bootstrap, which we have also included. Now let's go back to views.py within our movies app where we have defined the landing page, because it's time to add some really cool features, such as being able to browse movies by category and having a search functionality. Our source of movies is gonna be the movie database API. So if you want to follow along and create an awesome website, please go ahead and create an account on the movie database if you don't have one already. And then once you have an account, go to account settings and then click on API. Then you'll find a button where you can click to request an API key. And when you request the key, you'll get it in a matter of seconds. Once you have the key, copy it. And we want to keep our API key in a safe place. So let's create a .env file on the same level as manage.py. Now let's create variable, the movie database API key, and we want to paste our API key. Now we want to make it so that we can access the API key from anywhere in the project while keeping it super secure. On PyPy, there are many libraries that can help us access environment variables. I'm going to use Python-dotenv. So I'll copy the install command and just paste it in terminal. First, I'll stop server. Alrighty, now let's hit enter to install. Now we have Python-dotenv installed. So let's go to settings.py and we want to use load.env to take environment variables from .env, like it says on PyPy docs. So I'm just gonna copy this bit and paste it. Now we also need to import OS. With this, we'll be able to access our API key from .env. So let's set variable TMDB API key to OS dot get env, and then we just need to pass in the key associated with our API key. I'm going to copy it and paste it between quotation marks. So we're going to want to fetch movies from views.py in our movies app. So let's import our API key from settings. Doing so is so easy. So from Django.conf import settings, and then we can set API key to settings dot TMDB API key, because that's what we called the variable in settings. Okay, so now the next step is gonna be to fetch some movies from the movie database. In particular, we're interested in getting movie lists, like the now playing lists, popular lists, top rated lists, and upcoming lists. We want to get them and we want to render them in our landing page. Users should be able to decide on which category they want. So how about we create a drop-down menu with the categories so our users can choose a category. We should write our HTML inside block content. Do you guys remember block content? We have defined it in base.html, and it is where our HTML that is meant for the user to see should go. So I'll just copy this line from base.html and I will paste it. And now we can add a form element. I like seeing what I'm doing on the browser as I do it. So I'm going to restart server. Py manage.py run server. Let's add a select element and let's add 4 options. Let's make the first option popular. Let's make the second option now playing. And the third option top rated. And the final option upcoming. Okay, and now let's refresh and see how what we've written looks like. Okay, pretty basic. Alrighty, let's give our form some Bootstrap classes. So for example, for select, let's give it button primary so that it's a nice blue color. I'm just gonna copy this. Actually, I'll copy this whole line and then alter it. Okay, so we said we want button primary because primary is the blue one. Okay, let's refresh. Oh, it looks cool-ish. Okay, now let's put our form element in a div and give it the class container. Okay, let's refresh. Okay, let's also add margin top 4. Okay, much better. Okay, so when we actually get our movies, let's have them show up inside this div element. Let's give it the ID movie container. So right now we have a funky looking drop menu that does absolutely nothing but list categories of lists available on the movie database. So how do we make it so that when a user selects a category from here, our view knows about it, so it can actually make a request to the API and fetch the correct movies? If you've noticed, we have created a form element. And as you might know, forms allow a visitor to do things like select options and then send that information back to the server using either a get or post methods. So for this form, let's set method to get and set action to where we want our data to be sent, which is our landing page. Django allows us to super easily select routes with curly brackets, percentage signs, URL, and then specifying the name of the path. So in this case, we've called it landing page also. So I'll just paste the name. Okay, now let's give our select element a name so we can easily select it later on from our view. So let's give it the name category, for example. And since we don't want to add a submit button, let's add unchange this dot form dot submit. That way, whenever a user chooses a new category, the form will submit. Now let's give each option a value. So option 1 is popular, so let's make its value popular. Option 2 now playing. Let's make its value now playing. Option 3 top rated. Option 4 upcoming. Okay, now let's get back to our view and we want to know what the user selected. So let's set category to request .get and we want to get category, the value of our select element, which we gave the name category. Let's set the default to popular. So if the user doesn't select anything, category would be popular. Now we want to fetch movies based on category. Let's go back to the movies database and let's get the base URL for movie lists. So that's the base URL, I think, because it's the same for the movie list endpoints. Okay, so I'm going to create variable base URL and I'll just paste the base URL we've just gotten. Okay, and now let's create variable URL and it's going to be an F string. First we want the base URL and then of course we need to pass in the API key like so. Now in order to send HTTP requests super easily, we're gonna install Python's requests library from PyPy. I'm going to copy the install command and paste it in terminal. I'll need to disconnect server first, so I'll do that and then paste pip install requests and hit enter. Okay, we got requests. Very cool. So now we can use it. So we'll begin by importing requests. And now let's create response variable and set it to requests.getURL. So this teeny weeny piece of code sends a get request to our URL. It will also give us back the response. Now we want to get the data from the response. So let's set data to response.json. And what we're most interested in the response body is the results, because that's where the movies are. So let's add .get results. And if for some reason results is not there, let's set an empty string as a default. Now we want to pass this data back to our template. Doing so with Django is so easy. We can pass data in context dictionary like so. So for example, let's set the key to movies and the value would be all the data. Let's also pass the category as well. Alrighty, so right now if we restore server, so py run server, and we go to our site and we choose a category, we are supposed to get a response. And yeah, look, something is going on for sure. Let's add a print statement to see what we're getting. So print data. Okay, it looks like we're getting 200, response 200, which means all is well. But I don't see any movies or any results. So something is wrong. What did I do? Oh, no way. I forgot to actually pass in the category here, guys. So I forgot to actually put in the endpoint, which is crazy embarrassing. I'm embarrassed. Okay, let's add the category. Okay. Let's try again. Okay. I'm gonna click on now playing. All right, we got results, yo. Okie dokie, so let's go back to landing.html and let's see if we can put the movies nicely in cards and make them look good. Okay, so of course, we're gonna wanna loop through all the movies and render them one by one inside probably a Bootstrap card, right? Let's see. Bootstrap card. Yeah, something like that maybe. Okay, so first, let's create a for loop. So in Django templates, you can super easily loop through whatever you want using for, like this, and again, curly brackets and percentage signs. So for movie in movies, because we have passed movies as context. So that's what we're looping through right now. And when you open a for loop, you must always remember to add and for. For movie in movies, for every movie, we want a card. So I'm going to copy this code and just paste it. And now we, of course, want to show images, right? Because I love movie posters and it would be a very missed opportunity to not add posters. So part of the results is poster path, which is super duper cool. And after a bit of searching, I realized that in order to get poster paths to work, you need to use this URL and then the poster path. So I'm just gonna copy it and just paste it here where source is. And then I'm going to use double curly braces. So in Django, double curly braces are used to show variables. We want to pass in movie dot poster path. I'm copying it and pasting. And I hope this would work. Okay, so I now will refresh. Yay, it worked. Check it out. Alrighty, I wanna see if category selection works. So let's select top rated. Why does it go back to popular? So it does return top rated, but why does it become popular again? I think I know how to fix it. I am going to add an if statement. So in Django, you can add if statements with curly braces and percentage signs. Anyhow, so we can check if category is popular. Then we want to make sure that popular is selected so that this particular option is selected. Okay, now we can add and if. Okay, we wanna do the same thing for now playing. So I'm gonna copy the if statement. Actually, I'm gonna copy this entire line and paste it. But here I'll write if category is now playing, then we want to make sure that this option is selected. Okay, I'll do the same for top rated. So let's copy this line, paste it, and we want to check if category, if top rated. If it is, then we want this option to be selected. Now let's do the same for the last option, which is upcoming. So if category is upcoming, then we want to make sure that this option is selected. All right, now let's refresh and see if that fixed it. Oh, it did. Good job, guys. Okay, now let's add movie title. So right here it says card title. We will replace it with curly brackets. In between the curly brackets, we'll add movie.title. And that should do it. So let's refresh. Yay, we got the title. Nice. All right, so over here we have the court text. Let's try the movie's overview. I'm not sure how it's gonna look like. Let's try. So movie.overview. Alrighty. Let's refresh. Oh yeah, it's very long. If we wanted to, we could add CSS overflow and cut it. But I'm not in love with this idea because we're gonna have a detail page anyways, and we can put the overview in the detail page. Luckily, we have so many options. For example, we could get the vote average to know how good people think this movie is. I think the vote average would be a number from 1 to 10. So let's try that. Paste. All right. And let's add /10. And let's refresh. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I think it would be cooler if we could round it to 1 decimal point. Django luckily has super nice built-in filters, template filters that we can use. Float format. So we're going to be using this filter. I'll copy it. And I will just paste it. And we want 1 decimal point. So just add 1, right? Now let's refresh and see if it worked. Yay, it worked. Thanks, Django, for having nice filters that are so helpful. Okay, now let's talk about the button. How do you feel about the button? I feel we don't need it. Let's make it so that if the user clicks anywhere on the card, they'd go to the detail page. So I am going to just remove this line, and I am going to just add an anchor element around the whole card. And when the user clicks on it, they will go to the movie detail page when we create it. For now, we don't have a movie detail page, so I'll just set href to a hash for now. Now let's refresh. Take a look. yeah, now movie cards are clickable. But that also made the movie titles have this line under them. So let's add the class, text, decoration, none. Alrighty, and now let's refresh. Yeah, it worked. That's cool. Now, how about we make 4 movies in each row? Okay, so luckily Bootstrap makes it so easy to create rows. So let's give the div that holds our movie the class row for starters. Yeah. Okay, and now let's add a div element to wrap each of our movies. And let's give it maybe the class column medium. Okay, let's try call medium. Okay, let's refresh. Oh, that actually looks good. Huh. I like it. I feel we need a bit of margin between the drop down and the movies. So maybe we could add margin top 4 to our movie container. Let's refresh. Yeah, better. I like it. So we've said that we also want to add search functionality. And this will also be a form. So let's add a form element. Okay, now let's add an input field for our search. And we want to give it a placeholder and have it say search for movies. And you can also add a button with the type submit and have it say search. Okay. Oh, I wrote search for movies. Sorry about that. Okay, let's check out our page right now. Let's see how this looks. Oh, we have a simple form. Let's style it a bit. So, let's see what Bootstrap has to offer in terms of input. Oh yeah, I like this, the button being part of the input element. Yeah, so I think we should give our form element the class input group. And we want to also create a new div element and wrap it around our button. And this div element will have the class input group append. Okay, now let's go back to our page and refresh and see how that looks. Okay, that's cool. Now let's style the button so that it matches the drop menu. I'm just going to copy the button primary classes we've given the select element and just paste it within our button element. Okay, and let's refresh. Oh, okay, and maybe we can give our input element itself the class form control. And also let's add type text while we're at it. So copy pasta. Okay, now let's refresh. Okay, this is okay. It looks cool, but it's very big. Maybe we could add width 50 to the form and refresh. Oh, that's better. Let's see how it looks when we maximize. I think it's not bad. Maybe let's add padding. So let's try margin top 2. Okay. Yeah, I think this looks cool. Either way, let's focus on getting the form to work. So just like we've done for our drop-down form, we need to set method and action. So I am going to copy this and paste it because it's the same method and also the same action. Also, in order to be able to get the search query from our view, let's give our input element a name. Let's call it search. Okay, now let's go to our views.py. And just like we've done for category, to check if there's a search query, let's create variable search query. And we'll also set it to request.get.get. We want to get search. That's the name we've given our input element. Now let's set default to an empty string. To search for movies, we're going to need to make a request to a different endpoint in the movie database. Yep, this one. Okay, so I'm going to copy the URL. Okay, and now in the view, I'm going to add an if statement here above where we define URL. So we'll check if search query, because if search query, then we want to make a request to the search endpoint. So let's set URL to an f string, pass the search endpoint. Of course, we also want to pass our API key as well as the user's query. So let's add ampersand and set query to search query. Okay, and now let's add the else statement. So if not search query, then we want the other endpoint, the URL where we just pass the category, you know, the one we've been using. Okay, now finally, let's just pass search query to the context dictionary. Now let's go back to our browser and see if the search works. Let's refresh first, just in case. And what should we search for? How about Spirited Away? Because I really like that movie. Spirited Away. Oh, there it is. It worked. That's cool. Okay, maybe let's try something else. Let's try writing one word. Let's try writing lion, for example. All right, so as far as I can see, things are working well. Maybe the UI needs improvement a little, but I'm very happy. We should still add a try and accept block in case our request to the API fails. For example, I'm going to change the base URL here. I'll remove the B and try to make a request to an API that doesn't exist probably. Now let's reload this page. See, we got a connection error, and this is obviously not good. We don't want our entire app to crash. So let's put the response and data inside a try block. So try, and when there's a try, there should be an accept. If there is an exception, we still want to make sure we have data set to an empty list. Also, our user deserves an explanation, so we might want to show some kind of error message. So let's define error message variable and initialize it to an empty string. And then if there's an exception, let's set error message to, let's say, something went wrong. Actually, let's make the error message an F string and pass the exception like so. Let's also add requests raise for status, as it will raise an exception if we get a 400 or 500 status code. So we can put it in our try block, response dot raise for status. Okay, and now finally we want to pass the error message to our template. So let's add it to our context dictionary. Okay, and now let's go back to our template, and we could add here an if statement and check if error message and if. Okay, so if error message, then we want to show it. So let's add, for example, a paragraph element and the error message inside it. So error message. Okay, and now I'm very curious to see what would happen when we refresh. So let's refresh. Okay, so here is the error. We don't want to pass the exception for the user to see, so I'm going to remove it and just keep the something went wrong. Now let's refresh. Okay, just says something went wrong. Okay, now let's fix our base URL again. Let's add the B back and refresh. Okay, now everything works better. So proud of you. Awesome job today. See you in the next video. Oh, and if you haven't subscribed, please don't forget to subscribe and give the video a like if you liked it or found it useful. Bye.